Three, two, one.
You ready?
Listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is The Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. I've got a review here for the latest Jordan Peele offering. I hope you're having a great weekend, whenever you're listening to this. But yeah, I've got a review for Nope. Of course, written, directed, produced by Mr. Jordan Peele. So, quick story before I get into what I thought of the film. I'm such a huge fan of Jordan Peele, but crazy, I had never seen Key and Peele I'd never seen a full episode of Key and Peele up until maybe 2 years ago, like in lockdown. I think I watched my first full episode of Key and Peele, and I was blown away. And I was actually pretty sad because I realized, damn, I should have been watching this when this was live. But, you know, streaming is awesome for that, so you can go back and discover stuff. The Chappelle Show wounds were too fresh for me at the time, so I didn't watch Key and Peele in live in real time. But oh my god, that show is freaking amazing. But it really is quite incredible how Jordan Peele's made this incredible ascent from, you know, I still remember Jordan Peele on David Allen Greer's Chocolate News back in, what would that have been, like 2002, 2003, something like that. I remember him being a correspondent on there. So I mean, going from that, you know, to Key and Peele, or Mad TV in between there. He was on Mad TV for several seasons, and that turned into a whole thing. But the fact he goes from Mad TV to Key and Peele to directing, writing, producing one of the greatest horror films of all time in Get Out, I think following it up with an incredible sophomore effort in Us. And now we're on film 3 with Nope. So here's something I'm gonna get out of the way immediately. This is sitting at 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, and what I'll say about this movie is I already know why people aren't gonna like this. It's, as I was sitting in the theater, I went, God damn it, I can already hear the discourse on, I didn't like this, it didn't give me this. Like, I can already hear the shit. I haven't even gone on Twitter yet to see what people are saying about Nope, but I can already put a tweet together. But I already know why people aren't gonna like this, but I'll get into that whole rant in just a moment. So, the movie, of course, stars Daniel Kaluuya, or Daniel Alcoholic Drink, as I call him often on the show. You, of course, know him from Get Out, which, that's one of the best horror performances. I fucking love that performance. But you know him, of course, from Get Out, Judas and the Black Messiah, which he deserved his Oscar for. I was so happy he won that. Black Panther, Sicario, Queen and Slim, which I think is horribly underrated, and I haven't reviewed for the channel, but I need to. And Widows, another movie that I have reviewed that you should check out. I fucking love Widows. And it stars someone who, it's kind of crazy how long her career has been going on, because I still remember her from fucking Akeelah and the Bee, which is a great performance that I think people really do sleep on. Keke Palmer is having a moment between, I haven't seen Alice yet, I'm excited to see Alice at some point, between Hustlers, which she's incredible in. She does an incredible voice acting job as Izzy in Lightyear, which I have reviewed on the channel as well. She's an incredible actress. It's crazy that she goes from, what was that show? True Jackson VP or something like that. It's crazy she goes from that show to where she is now. Like, I'm really happy for her. She is the standout in this movie by far for me. But her and Kaluuya have absolutely incredible chemistry. So she plays Emerald Haywood, and Kaluuya plays OJ Haywood. They're brother and sister, obviously, and they own a horse farm, which was owned by their dad, Otis Haywood, played by Keith motherfucking David. I was so happy to see Keith David in here. I'm always happy to see Keith David. He goes ahead and dies under these really insane circumstances. Like, his death is fucking heartbreaking. It's fucking brutal too. So they go ahead and inherit the farm. And so basically we find out that there are, okay, so for the record, I'm going to dance around quite a few spoilers here. I'm going to be very vague because I really do want people to try and kind of discover this, discover things about this movie for themselves. But what I'll say is that there is an entity out there that they are going against. And so they want to go ahead and basically capture this entity on camera so that they can go ahead and get famous and, horse farm and everything. So what's interesting about that is that is a very, I think, a very beautifully detailed mirror as far as how we live in the TMZ, really shock media age that we're in. You think about something like TikTok, or the fact that 90% of phones have cameras where you can go ahead and capture things and go ahead and, record yourself, record other people. It's never been easier to people watch than it is now. But this movie, one reason that people are really going to not like this, and I was, talking about this earlier, and that's about as much plot as I can get into without spoiling too much. One of the things that people are going to not like about this is that the plot itself is very straightforward. The plot itself, really, it is what I told you. It's about, the siblings wanting to go ahead and capture this entity on film to become famous. If you want to boil the plot down just that simply, you very easily could. However, if you do that, I think you're robbing yourself of an incredible cinematic experience, because much like in the other two Jordan Peele films, this film has a lot to say, but this is the one that spoon feeds you the least. So for example, I saw this tonight, at the 5:00 showing, and our theater was like 75% full, but there were most people in the front. I was kind of off on my own, but there was a group of people behind me, and they were on their phones the whole they looked like they were like 18, 19. This, out of all Jordan Peele's films, and I really cannot stress this enough, you need to be paying attention. This is not a movie that you're looking at your phone at. You can kind of look up on occasion, still, grasp the full gravity and go ahead and actually get the richest experience. You do need to be paying attention when you're watching this, and I think you really are robbing yourself of an incredible cinematic experience. Really give this movie your attention. The film more than earns that. So a couple things I will talk about is they do go ahead and end up becoming friends with this guy, Angel, who's played by Brendan Perry. That's what I'm going to go with. He plays Angel, and he works at Fry's, which, if you're not from the Texas area, I think they're back east too. When I lived in Austin, we had a couple Fry's, like Fry's Electronics. They were kind of almost like a Costco like a Radio Shack, almost like Costco, more like a Best Buy. There you go. They no longer exist. They actually went under. So seeing Fry's was kind of a trip, and it kind of made me sad, honestly. I was like, damn, I actually liked Fry's. They go ahead and enlist his help with installing these special cameras that they want to go ahead and have to go ahead and try and capture this entity on film. And he goes ahead and installs everything for him, and they find out that he's interested, more than just setting up their cameras. He wants to help them out with capturing this deity on film. And so they go ahead and all start working together. And I'll say, for me, seeing the way their camaraderie works was something that became quite a bit of fun. They all bounce off each other really well. It's really interesting. I think Peele makes a very bold choice in that OJ, again, played by Daniel Kaluuya. It's pretty funny, actually, now that I think about it. I can say this, but early on in the film, like really early on, first 5 minutes, he's on a job and he's, positioning the horse and everything. And Donna Mills plays Bonnie Clayton, who's the actress who's supposed to ride the horse. And he's just so fucking depressed. And it's kind of funny, but also you understand that, he lost his dad 6 months ago and he's fucking hurting. He's working through it. And these white folk just aren't listening to it. And you can just see him getting more and more pissed off, just God damn it, fucking listen to me. And it's really interesting how Emerald goes ahead and comes onto the scene, and she's very much the lively one. That's one reason why Keke Palmer really does steal this movie. She has such just infectious energy as soon as she comes in the frame, and you go, okay, she's really swinging from the fences, even from her first scene. But you can also tell that there's some tension between the two of them. And I really like the way that relationship evolves, because, this movie at points feels like it's talking about not just sibling relationships, but specifically, black family dynamic. The way that Emerald has some anger towards her dad as she's working through his death. You can feel she shares this one story about one of the horses in the movie, and she talks about how that was supposed to be my horse, and he wasn't. There's a whole backstory there that I really appreciate the scene. It's a one-off scene, it feels like, but as the relationship evolves and we see them interact more, you go, okay, there really is a lot of anger behind her eyes, like behind her demeanor. She's working through what OJ's working through, but in her own way. And they have a couple times where they do blow up at each other that I went, damn, okay. It's pretty intense at points, their frustration with each other. One thing I will say about the whole entity in itself, the way it's filmed in particular, you think it's going to look one way, because I think most people are aware of what I'm what I'm referring to, but you're expecting this thing to look a certain way, and it doesn't. It's actually shockingly simple, very much kind of in that 60s sort of vibe, which I love. I went, oh, I love that aesthetic. Another thing I will say about the film, in particular, because this was something that I was not prepared for, and I really do mean this. I can't remember the last time I saw scenes at night look like this and look this horrifying, and yet it's like hauntingly beautiful all the way through. And just the more I watched it, I went, man, I'm loving the way this is fucking shot. There's this one shot, and I wish I could get a poster of this, of OJ and one of their horses, and they're looking out towards the mountains on the farm and everything. They're like in his stable outside, and they look out to the night sky, and it's one of these shots I went, I want to frame this. Like, it's so fucking beautiful. The cinematographer on this movie, Hoyt Van Hoytema is what I'm going to go with. I don't know what they've actually. Oh wow! So they were the cinematographer on Dunkirk, or the director of photography on Dunkirk. They were the cinematographer on Tenet, which I fucking hate Tenet, but it does look pretty. I will say that. But bravo, sir! This movie looks fucking incredible, and it really does feel, just on that front alone, like an achievement for Jordan Peele and this guy. It looks fantastic. If anything else, it looks fantastic. As far as the movie itself, it's broken up into chapters based on the horse, and I found that to be a very interesting but a pretty clever choice. I went, okay, I really like that. It's a very subtle thing in the way that the film is staged and the way it progresses. It actually makes sense that they go ahead and do it in that fashion. And it was something that I didn't know that I really wanted, but it's something that works shockingly well. One thing that this film does also, pretty early on, we get the whole story of how the first 2-second frame was done by a black person, by a person of color. It's one of those things where the studio they're working with very much waves it off, just basically train the horse, Negro. That's what we need you for. And it's done in such a dismissive way that I laughed, but not haha laugh, but you sons of bitches. And it's one of those things that I think Jordan Peele, actually I would bet money, Jordan Peele is definitely one of those directors where he lays things out. Maybe he'll spoon feed us more times than not, but this is one of those movies where it feels like he's completely okay with people to really draw their conclusions from what they see, what references they get, and how they view the film, which is one of the things I think is going to drive people insane, that there aren't more definitive things at points. But I like that, because that leaves room for interpretation. I've used this example before, but the thing that drove me fucking nuts in Hawkeye was when Clint has that whole fight with Yelena. If you haven't watched the show by now, you should have. I don't care. But when she's about to kill him, Hawkeye, does the whole whistle, does the whistle that Natasha used to do. And Yelena, freezes in her steps, and he goes, Nat's whistle. And I just went, motherfucker, we know. I don't need you to fucking spoon feed me. You need to trust your audience at some point. And that's something that I believe that Peele is really content to do early on, and let people discover what they want to discover from his films, and just be able to discuss it. But I think that's something that's going to really start to irritate hopefully a small section of the general public, is that he's not going to be spoon feeding his audience. He's going to trust his audience to find the clues and make their own and draw their own conclusions. And I love that about Peele. And there's so much of that in this movie. One thing I will say is there's a point where OJ is running from this entity earlier on in the film, or not even earlier on in the film, but the fact that they're horse trainers for, stunt people for studios. The fact of the matter is, they're the ones who are doing a lot of the hard work, but they're not, the starring actors or actresses, so they're not getting the credit. And there's this really cool sequence where OJ is riding a horse being chased by this entity. And the fact that it says crew on the back of his sweatshirt, and the sweatshirt for which the movie is from is fucking hilarious, so I won't spoil it here. But the fact that he's doing this big action heavy thing while being, just a quote crew member, it's one of those things you go, okay, movie, like I'm picking up what you're putting down. And there are just multiple sequences like that where I believe the film is laying out its message. And I just think a lot of the general audience is going to miss this shit. And that's what frustrates me, is because I know people are going to miss this and go, oh, the movie's not plot heavy. It's not saying anything. It's like, no, it is saying shit. You're just not paying attention. The last thing I will say that I love that it does bring up is Steven Yeun's character. I don't want to get too much into his thing, but he plays Ricky Park. Basically, he's a child star who goes ahead and finds a way to make money off this entity, and I'll just leave it at that. But when you find out his whole deal and his origin, it really speaks to the TMZ media circus that we all, in a weird way, participate in, whether it's through, social media or just sharing things. But the way that he's able to exploit the media and exploit grief really speaks to the endless, news cycle that we have, where I think as a society, look at school shootings. We've just become so desensitized to tragedy, and we just go, oh, this is just kind of part of the world. It's just the way it is, which is such a fucking insane way to look at it. But the movie does speak to that. It's kind of crazy that Peele goes there, and there's a couple instances where you go, oh shit, okay, I damn, all right. There are going to be people who I think, as these messages start to come out and as the film gets broken down and dissected more and more, I think people are going to be uncomfortable with a lot of things that this film is saying, because Peele's 1,000% correct. We consume media at such an insane rate. I was talking to someone on Twitch the other night about how we just consume media so fast. There are so many things that I've probably watched that I've just never sat down and reviewed. And there's so much stuff that I want to review, but I just don't have the time to sit down and watch every single fucking thing. I still haven't finished Stranger Things yet. I want to finish Stranger Things, but I haven't had a chance to. So there's so much media, and the way we consume it now is easier than ever, which is wonderful and terrifying when you think about it. And this movie just has so much to say in general. I won't go too much into anything else, because again, I'll bring up one more thing. The way that, people of color, these horse trainers, the way they go ahead and their history is just so dismissed. When you think about how the multiple, attempts to go ahead and just move slavery from classrooms, that's a thing that's happening right now. We're so uncomfortable with our own history. We don't even want to talk about fucking slavery. And this film, early on does talk about how, Black history can just be erased, but not just Black history, but history in general. Just, we don't want to talk about anything uncomfortable. And this movie is going to make people uncomfortable the more it's talked about. And I would really encourage you, if you're feeling uncomfortable with some of the messages that might come out from other people viewing this film, you might learn something. Well, listen to people on that. It's actually good for you. We learn when we're uncomfortable. And getting to my final thoughts here, I thought Peele did an excellent job with this. I liked this as much as I liked Us. And I dug Us quite a bit. I think I gave that an A. But this is something I definitely look forward to rewatching. I just realized that I wish every movie I saw in a theater had fucking subtitles. I love subtitles so much. I'm very sad that theaters don't have them. But I dug this so much. It might be something that gets higher on my list the more I think about it. This would crack my top 10 right now. I dug the hell out of Nope. So this is a solid A for me. I really dug this, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again, and definitely looking forward to buying it, because this is a day one buy for sure for me. But yeah, Nope. What did you think of it? You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. That's REEL Pineapple, and Real Pineapple Games. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and TuneUp, and Spotify, or Samsung Podcast at The Real Pineapple. And you can follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam. And you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JHunterRealPineapple. That again is REEL Pineapple. And you can follow me on TikTok at Black Shazam775. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We're going to have a breakdown this weekend for Comic-Con. We're going to be talking about all the big announcements. I'm really excited to sit down Saturday morning and watch some Comic-Con stuff, but I'm so excited for Comic-Con. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask. Get your booster. Tell someone you love them today. We all need to hear some more compliments in the world. But stay safe, everyone. Thank you again for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.